Hey guys, what's up? How's it going? Robin here. Welcome to today's video, and in today's video we are going to be once again talking about Air Canada. So Air Canada is a pretty popular stock right now, and it is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, airline in Canada. And in today's video I'm going to be sharing you guys my thoughts. I did an Air Canada review video a little while back. That was back when the share price was I think around $15. I'll link to that video in the description of this video. And what we're going to do today is this is basically going to be like my update from that video. We're going to talk about what's happened since then, and I'm once again going to give you guys my overall recommendation and share with you guys if I think Air Canada stock is a good buy. Before we jump in, I just want to say thank you to everybody for supporting me on this channel. If you guys want more Canadian based investing tips and stocks and all these kind of personal finance type videos, be sure to subscribe to the channel. And if you guys did enjoy this video, please smash that like button and support the channel. Alright, so if you guys remember, when I first did my first review of Air Canada, I did that review around in the middle of April. I think it was about April 18th I published a video, and the stock price was sitting about $17 Canadian. So it first dipped down here to about, I think the lowest point was about $10 Canadian. Then it kind of went up, then it went down, then it went up, and it's doing its down and up thing like most of the stock market is doing. And since then, it kind of went up to $20. Looks like it went up to $21, and then it kind of went back down, and then now we're kind of back to where we were. So I just wanted to point that out really quick, and we're now sitting at today basically where we were when I did this last video. And like I said in the previous video before, the main thing about Air Canada is everybody's unsure about what's going to happen with Air Canada, and that's why it's such a hot stock right now. Alright, so earlier today I was doing a little bit of researching. I did some researching for Air Canada to do this video. I was checking out some news articles and stuff like that. And one of the big things that a lot of people are talking about, and this is one of the things I'm going to base this video around, is the fact that will Air Canada go bankrupt? And will it happen again? And for those of you guys who don't know, and I actually didn't know this before I made my first video, is that Air Canada actually did go bankrupt in the early 2000s. So the big thing a lot of people are talking about is Air Canada going to go bankrupt again. And when it did go bankrupt the first time, a lot of people kind of got, I don't want to say screwed over, but they kind of did, because anybody who owned a share price at the time basically lost all their money. And this is one of the big things, like this is why Air Canada, I think in my opinion, is such a risky stock, because even though it's performed well, if a company has went bankrupt in the past, and everybody who owned a share at that time lost all their money, that's not a good sign overall. However, it doesn't mean you shouldn't invest in Air Canada, and I'm going to talk about this throughout the video, the theme of that. I still think Air Canada is going to be a good investment, but I just don't think you should be putting tons of money in. It should be one of those things that maybe you put a little bit of money in here and there, but like just be careful, because there is a good chance that Air Canada could go, like in this article here by the Motley Fool, they say will Air Canada go belly up in 2020, and like there's a bunch of these articles talking about the Air Canada going bankrupt, and there's a lot of things going out, like they probably won't be able to resume flying for the next couple years. They're still doing some flights here and there, but like international travel won't resume, and for a while. And are they going to be able to stay up? And there's also talks about like will the government do bailouts and stuff like that, and that's kind of up in the air too. So the big question is like, will Air Canada go bankrupt? I don't think they will. I think they will survive. It's just a question of, I think with a lot of other people, is like how long is it going to take for them to recover? What is the stock going to do in the meantime? And but keep in mind, there is always that chance that Air Canada could go bankrupt. But if there's one airline in Canada that I think is going to survive this whole thing, it's probably going to be Air Canada. And of course, there's been a lot of things and talks about layoffs and stuff like that. And of course, this is going to affect the company. This is going to affect the stock and the price and stuff like that over time. We've seen Air Canada do layoffs, and then they hired people back because of the wage subsidy program that the government introduced. So obviously, layoffs are not a good thing. But it looks like they keep coming and going kind of thing. It's like this tug of war where people are being laid off and then they're being hired back in, and they're being, it's kind of going back and forth. So in this article right here coming out from May 19th says that Air Canada is to lay off 20,000 workers, as basically they don't have a job, right? There's nothing for them to really be doing. And it kind of makes sense. Now, the Canadian government has helped out Air Canada as well as some other business by giving the wage subsidy program and stuff like that, and that has helped out a little bit. But in the end, it's kind of just like a temporary fix, because Air Canada isn't going to have any like major business for quite a while now, and eventually there's going to be a point in time where these people just aren't going to have a job. So it's a nice little temporary thing to help people out, but I think in the long run it's not going to help them, and we could probably expect some more layoffs as time goes on. It all depends on when international travel picks up, but like I said, I don't think that will happen for quite a while. And of course, everybody's been talking about the government bailouts for Air Canada. Is this going to happen? Now, in my last video a couple months ago, a lot of people were saying like, yeah, there's going to be 100% government bailouts for Air Canada, but now it's kind of not too sure, because with the big layoffs announced, the government hasn't really made a huge commitment to saying that they're going to 100% bail out airlines, but they have said that they're going to try to work with them, and they're going to try to help them, because an international flight is very important for Canada. Like, the government should be concerned about this, and if the government wants to like help out the country and in the economy of the country, it's probably in the best interest of the government to actually help these airlines out and make them not go bankrupt. Because if Air Canada goes bankrupt, international flights going to take a major hit, and it could take a long time for that to kind of pick up eventually. And that's a lot of like the economy, and a lot of the money that comes into Canada is from international flight and stuff and whatnot, all that kind of stuff, people traveling and whatnot, coming here from overseas, students and stuff like that. So although the government hasn't commented on this yet, they've kind of said like they're willing to work with them. There's nothing in paper yet. I personally, if you ask me, I personally think that the government will eventually do a bailout for Air Canada. It's just a question of like how is that bailout, like what is it going to be? Is it going to be a complete bailout? Is it going to be like something to help them? Is it going to be like they're going to give them like free money? Is it going to be like a loan that they have to pay off and stuff like that? So I think that's a big question for a lot of people, but I think the government has to kind of help them. Like it's going to hurt the country a lot if they don't. And once again, like this article talks about like the big layoffs and stuff like that, how they're laying off about 50% of their workforce and stuff like that. So we should expect over the next little while the government to kind of maybe make some more comments about this, but it's pretty much just a waiting game to see what they're going to do. And like I said, I think over time the government probably will figure something out, even if it's just like a loan or something to help them out, and then Air Canada has to pay that back, and maybe they'll be in debt or something like that. I don't know, but we'll have to wait and see. But I don't see the government not giving at least some help to Air Canada to get through this whole thing. And when it comes to other airlines in Canada, I think for the most part, like I mentioned at the start of this video, I honestly think that if there is any airline that's going to survive this whole thing, it's probably going to be Air Canada, because they are the biggest airline, and well, they're just called Air Canada. Like, they've been around forever. They basically survived. I shouldn't say they survived bankruptcy. Obviously, that took a big hit and a lot of things happened, but they've kind of came back from the dead. They've basically stood the test of time in that sense. But for stock owners and stock share owners, it's kind of, we're not too sure, right? But I think Air Canada is definitely going to survive to some degree. When it comes to smaller airlines, I don't know. Like, I know airlines like Porter and stuff like that. I don't know. I know they were doing really well before everything happened, but who knows? Like, they might struggle, they might suffer, they might not get as much help. I think the government will definitely probably give like the bigger ones, like focus its attention around Air Canada, help them out, which in turn should help the company recover and that stock go up over time, obviously, hopefully. But when it comes to smaller airlines, I don't know. Like, I think most of them, we could see some of the smaller airlines in Canada go bankrupt if they haven't already. And but I think if you're going to, and this gives my next advice to all you guys, if you're going to invest in any airline stock in Canada, I'd probably say that Air Canada is probably your safest bet, as it is the biggest airline. And if there's anything that's any airline stock that's going to survive it, it's definitely going to be Air Canada. And I think it all comes back to that demand for international travel. Like, if you look at Canada as a whole, like, I know from somebody who's lived here for my whole entire life, international travel and people coming over from other countries, predominantly students and stuff like that, it's a big part of Canada. Like, if you go to any of the big cities, even where I'm from right now, I'm from Northern Ontario, there's tons of international kids here. Like, it's crazy. Like, and like, I've lived here for the past 10 years, and you can see it. Like, from when I first moved here, like, Canada always had a lot of like international people here and stuff like that, and a wide range of cultures and stuff like that. But like, over the past 5 to 10 years, it's really picked up, and I think that's really been important for the Canadian economy and stuff like that. So I think, like, at some point in time, international travel will pick up in Canada, and that's why I think Air Canada probably will do well eventually, and I think it will survive, is because there's always going to be that demand for international travel. It's just a big question of when is that going to happen. Is it going to be 6 months from now? Is it going to be sooner? Probably not. Is it going to be a year or two? It just really depends on how things happen. And I know a lot of people right now are talking about that there might be a second thing coming here. So we'll have to wait and see. And like I said, I still think Air Canada is a really risky stock. You can see it kind of updating here right now on the pages. It's going down a little bit today, but that's it goes up and down all the time. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But like, it's just a big question of when it's going to happen. I know, like I mentioned before, a lot of people are talking that international flying might not even really pick up until 2023, and if that's the case, that's 3 years from now. Like, that's a long period of time. I know there has been some talks about international travel for some companies, but overall, some countries, sorry, but I don't think it'll pick up for at least quite a while yet, in my own personal opinion. And And when we're talking about income reports and how much money that Air Canada actually makes, I actually scrolled down here and I took a quick peek here, and it says that Air Canada reported a net income of $917 million, or $3.37 per diluted share in 2019, compared to the adjusted net income of $738 million in 2018. So that's quite a big increase, and Air Canada has continually over time actually done a pretty good job at running the company. Like, it's been run really well. Year after year, there seems to be like an increase in revenue. They keep making more and more money. And once again, I think it comes down to that huge need for international travel, which was so important before like everything shut down. So Air Canada, I think in terms of like surviving that, they're doing a really good job. So I think if there's any company that's going to survive, it's definitely going to be Air Canada. And with the company's ability to make profit year after year for a while now, I think as long as it can kind of like survive this, and it might have to make some cutbacks, stuff like that, of course, but I think it's probably, they're set up pretty good to survive. And with a company that's making more and more money every single year, I think Air Canada is a safe bet to probably at some point in time definitely recover and do well. Good question. I don't know, a lot of you guys are asking me, and I'm going to just kind of recover. I'm just going to kind of mention in my last video here really quickly what I did. So in my last video, I mentioned I told you guys that for anybody that was invested, like thinking about going into Air Canada, the best time to do it would definitely have been right where the big dip happened, because when Air Canada went down to $10, everything was crashed, everything was down. It was the perfect time to invest, and you could probably predict that at some point in time it was going to recover, right? And with $10 a share, if you bought like $1,000 of Air Canada and it went up to $17 a share, you'd be sitting at like, I guess, $700 increase. So you could do the math on that, like with any kind of amount you have. That's a pretty big increase, even to this day. Like getting a, I guess, 50% increase would be huge. So anybody that invested at this big dip at the bottom, obviously that was the best time to do so. Now, I did buy a couple shares of Air Canada, but I actually chose myself to invest in the broader market, and that's the broader Canadian market as well. So I did buy some shares of Air Canada, and I will probably continue to do so, but I'm more interested in investing in the overall Canadian market as well as everything together. So that's probably my approach I'm going to do, because the big question is I don't know what's going to happen here. And as you guys know, I'm really big into dividend investing, and Air Canada doesn't have a dividend yield at all. So you're kind of at the mercy of the stock price going up and down. So if it goes down, or if it goes to zero like it did before, you could lose everything. So that's always a possibility. So I still think it's smart to invest in Air Canada, but you just got to be smart about it. Don't put all your money. Maybe make it a small amount. Like you can make it like, if you're going to invest like $100 a week kind of thing, maybe put like 10, 20 bucks into Air Canada or something like that. That's kind of the approach I'm going to do. I'm going to be buying, the main ETF I actually use for investing into Canadian stocks is XIC, and XIC does have some shares of Air Canada. So I would recommend maybe do something like that and invest in the broader market, because, and I would say like maybe invest in other airlines, but just be careful, because I don't know what's going to happen with other airlines. I wouldn't recommend investing in a lot of the smaller ones, because I don't know if they're going to last. But Air Canada, definitely, I would say, like, continue investing. I still think it's a great company, but just be careful, because there's major risk here, and I would never tell anybody to like do a gambling play. But if you're investing like a small amount, like 5 or 10% of your weekly deposit in Air Canada, I wouldn't really say that's gambling. I just think that's taking on a little bit more risk than normal, but that's perfectly okay. And I kind of do that myself. You just got to be smart about it. And when it comes to price prediction and whatnot, I think over time it's probably going to hover around where it is right now. I don't think it's going to drop back down to $10 again. And if it does, I think more people will be buying, which might even push it back up. I think we're going to be hovering around this for quite a while now. It might go up back to, like, I could see it going up to like $20 a share if the market starts to recover, as it's kind of starting to do. Like, I know a lot of people have been talking about the market crashing and whatnot, but I think Air Canada, I think if the market kind of recovers, it'll push Air Canada up a little bit. It's just a question of like, it's going to probably go up and down a lot, but it's probably going to hover, I would say, around the 15 to 20 mark over the next little while, but we'll just have to wait and see. If it does go down to $10, I would recommend maybe buying a little bit more, just because maybe you can get some gains. As you can see, it's been popping up and down quite a bit here. So if you're buying in at any of these times where it's going down and you want to sell, you could actually make a little bit of cash, but just be careful with it, because once again, nobody really knows where the bottom is going to be. And if you're going to ask me, I think we already hit the bottom, and I think it's probably just going to keep going up from here. And that's it for this review video, guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys missed my previous Air Canada review video, check it out. I'll link to in the description of this video, as well as I'll put like an end card somewhere you guys can click on that. But other than that, guys, thanks for joining me today, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys, once again, want more Canadian type investing, personal finance type videos, be sure to subscribe to the channel. And if you guys did enjoy this video, be sure to smash that like button. Thank you, everybody, for joining me. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll see you guys later, and take care.